This is the greatest thing that I've ever seen in my entire life, and I just killed all the Freys in a reverse red wedding by stealing Walder Frey's face. Right now, because all these peasants are behind here too, I'll talk about them in a second because their reactions are really funny when you look at Arya. Like, look in the background as they're freaking out. They have voiceover and a music track on this, so you don't actually hear their screams like, oh my god, it's a dragon. This also looks like it's happening in that same scene, so she happens to be in Wintertown watching the army march through before they make it to Winterfell and you get that big introduction scene. Obviously, they don't show you Jon Snow and Daenerys. You have to imagine what this opening scene is probably going to be like too, and I like the way that they're using Arya's perspective to show this. Like, she's the one whose eyes are tracking Drogon as he flies over the army. But this is sort of a nicer version of Daenerys bringing her armies to King's Landing in the season 7 finale and them having that big meeting in the Dragon Pit. They'll be meeting in the Great Hall of Winterfell to talk about battle planning shortly after this, but Daenerys is basically making the grandest possible entrance that she ever could. The greatest entrance that anyone at Winterfell has ever seen in its many thousands of years of history. Also probably the greatest intro to any season of Game of Thrones ever. And season 7 was actually really cool with that Arya reverse red wedding. But it's probably one of those slow reveal situations. Like, remember at the beginning of season 7, also right after that red wedding scene, you get the slow reveal of the army of the dead marching through winter, the White Walkers, the Night King, slowly being unveiled. So it's sort of like Daenerys' army in this version is slowly being unveiled. You see the shot of the Unsullied Legions, then you see as they pass by, you see all the Blood Riders, then you see the dragons, then they probably reveal Jon Snow and Daenerys, and it's sort of like Arya just looking at them in wonder, like, this is so amazing, I'm so happy to be here. Then she sees Jon, but it's hard to tell just from this footage whether or not they're separating a lot of the reunions, and Arya has her reunion with Jon Snow in Wintertown before they head to Winterfell and go through the gates, because obviously Daenerys probably isn't going to try and shade Sansa and the Lords of the North the way that she shaded Cersei when they showed up at the end of season 7 for their big meeting in the Dragon Pit. She'll probably land the dragons outside the outer walls, maybe stop the Blood Riders and the Unsullied Legions a good distance away, and then just take a small party of her closest inner circle through the main gates. Like, you have Ser Jorah with her here. Varys, Tyrion, Missandei, Grey Worm are also probably in the background of there somewhere too. But it actually would be really cool if Jon had a little reunion with Arya before that big opening scene of them walking through. And it would make sense that you would try to separate that out just to give it its own distinct moment. Like, Jon was the person that she was closest to growing up, so it would make sense that that would be the most impactful reunion right at the beginning. Like, I haven't seen you in so long, look at all the things that we've been through. Now we have to go through and actually get to the business of defending the realm. Then they have that big meeting with Sansa. So you guys let me know in the comments, do you actually think that the Arya reunion takes place here in Wintertown before the big meeting with Sansa, Daenerys, and Jon inside the walls at Winterfell? Then you get the Sansa reunion. We already talked about that and what her attitude towards Daenerys is at the beginning of the season. Then you have the scenes of them inside the Great Hall with Daenerys' costume change, with that look on her face, like she's really happy to be here. She wants to be a team player. She's really happy to meet Jon Snow's family. You just have to imagine that Sansa's on the other side of the table, just staring daggers back at her. The actors have also been doing official press recently. Sophie Turner revealed, even though we don't see it in any of the footage here, that Sansa actually gets to wear a version of armor this season. Not Stark armor like you see Jaime wearing or Jon Snow. The way she describes it is just thicker versions of Stark leather with extra intricate northern designs. So imagine the way that Cersei's changed her costume between season 7 and season 8. She has those armor-looking shoulder pads. Her season 8 costume looks even more like it's armored up, even though technically she's not wearing armor. There's a shot of the Night King with his ice javelin. I'm assuming that some of these are actually from the end of season 7, episode 6, when he was going after them and they were trying to escape on Drogon's back. The one new bit of this, though, does look like it's Viserion and the Night King flying through the wreckage of the wall as it comes tumbling down, because it's happening during daytime, not during nighttime when it happened during Season 7, Episode 7. So this might be either extra footage left over from the end of Season 7 or just an early shot of them just recapping what's happening at the beginning of the season. Because I did a video about the official cast list for Episode 1, and the Night King actor is not listed in it, so maybe it's just because he's a background CG shot and they didn't need him on set that day, so we wouldn't take it too seriously, but we'll get a little more details like that as we get closer to the season. Usually we don't find out exact run times and episode titles until it's right before episodes air. but most of the footage we've seen so far, as we know, is actually from Season 8, Episode 1 at the beginning of the episode, which isn't a big surprise, but I'm expecting that they'll probably drop a proper trailer sometime. If it's not later today, then it'll be in the next 2 weeks or so. But if we hear anything about that, I will totally do a video about it. Post all your reactions to the Game of Thrones footage in the comments below. There's obviously extra footage in here for the Deadwood movie that's coming out later this year, with Seth Bullock talking to Ian McShane's Al Swearingen, probably dropping a lot of F-bombs. There's a new scene from Watchmen with Jeremy Irons as older Adrian Veidt blowing out a candle on his birthday cake. The cake is just colored to look like his Watchmen costume, so that's just them sort of winking at the camera. He kind of smiles at it like, I see what you did here. You made me a birthday cake like my old costume. The other big surprise is they also include footage for His Dark Materials Season 1, The Golden Compass. So this is James McAvoy as Lord Asriel, little Daphne Keene, X-23 from the Logan movie, playing Lyra, and Ruth Wilson as Marissa Coulter. There's no release date for it yet. It's a BBC production, but they will be airing episodes on HBO inside the United States. What'll happen is I was actually working on a totally different Game of Thrones video when all this footage drops, so I'll post that in the next day or two, and I'll name a giveaway winner when I do that. So while you wait for everything, click here for all my other Game of Thrones Season 8 teaser and trailer videos, and click here for my new Season 8 House Stark promo and predictions. Thank you so much for watching. Everybody stay awesome. I'll see you guys tonight.